And this is just the beginning. There are already educational applications of brain imaging. There are, you can play with your brain. There is a new kind of computer game platform that involves reading EEG out of scalp-mounted electrodes in a little cap, so that you can move your avatars around with thought alone. People have experimentally used this in personnel selection, scanning people to read various personality traits. Marital counseling, I kid you not, there is a company, the Amen Clinics, that offers to have you and your spouse come in, get brain scans, functional brain scans, and advise you on your compatibility and how to work out your issues. So in addition to just reading the brain, obviously neuroscience can get in there and tinker with it. You will hear later today from, I think, Anjan Chatterjee about the use of stimulants to improve attentional function. Again, this is not just medical. Many people who do not have a diagnosis are using these meds to sharpen their focus and be more productive at work. Here's propranolol, the beta blocker that Sharon was mentioning, that can be used to, both as a treatment to try to prevent PTSD, but also it's being explored as a way of sort of immunizing military personnel, disaster workers, to prevent them from having haunting memories of terrible experiences. Provigil is something that I'm sure Dave Dinges will talk about this evening. It's a handy-dandy drug that lets you go for days at a time without sleeping, actually feeling okay. Let's see, yeah, Anjan, of course, is the one with the prescription pads. But I mean, think about how these, and I'm not recommending these, by the way, but think about how irresistible these are and how they will undoubtedly be taken up by society. I actually know somebody, a young man, he and his wife, once a week, take some Provigil, stay up all night, catch up on their work, and segue into the next day. They say they feel a little ragged the next day, but that it's worth it. They are so productive that way. Very, very hard in this world of sort of extreme jobs, 60-hour-a-week, hyper-competitive careers that we all have, to resist this. And I think we're going to see more and more of this. Finally, this is an anti-androgen treatment that's being used as a sort of a last resort, but increasingly common treatment for sexual predators. Bobby Jindal just signed into law that all sexual predators in the state of Louisiana, will get not this particular drug, but a chemical castration, in effect, which actually works on, Woody Allen's first and second favorite organs to decrease sexual aggressiveness. So these are all ways in which the fruits of neuroscience research can be used outside of a medical context to change our behaviors. Finally, trust me, I've got oxytocin, so you actually don't have a choice. This is a graph from a paper a few years ago. Actually, similar work is being done by some of our colleagues in psychology, showing that in an economic trust game, where you have a choice of playing cooperatively, where long-term cooperative play will benefit you, but if your trust is misplaced and you cooperate with somebody who defects, you'll actually lose everything. Okay? If you give people a little snort of oxytocin, they will end up playing more cooperatively. The black bars are the oxytocin group, and this is increasingly generous play over here to the right. So the people who snorted a placebo compound were not as generous in their play in this economic game as the people who snorted the oxytocin. This has real implications for how people's behavior could be manipulated in economic situations, in I mean, maybe they should spritz it. Yeah. Well, and Maybe we should, put it in the air fresheners in, like, the Middle East talks, right? I mean, manipulating the brain sounds bad, but maybe for certain causes, it's worth it. I also want to briefly mention that we have more tools in the armamentarium than just drugs. There is transcranial magnetic stimulation, as Sharon mentioned. This can actually briefly change cognitive abilities and mood in normal, healthy subjects. There's a kind of a mad scientist type in Australia who uses it to increase creativity in people. And he says if he's kind of stuck in a rut, in the office one day, he'll just take his paddle and give himself a little zap in the right place over the right hemisphere, and he claims it increases his creativity. There's another even lower, very simple low-tech technique, transcranial direct current stimulation, which requires essentially a 9-volt battery, and that's it. And you can stimulate fairly localized parts of your brain and achieve changes in cognition and mood. And I spent a few hours online a few weeks ago, and there are all these just plain folks trading tips online about how to do it. It's very scary how cavalier people are about running currents through their brain. Anyway, but this is clearly, again, non-medical uses of neuroscience technologies that can very powerfully influence our feelings and our behavior. The TMS, by the way, isn't necessarily attached to a big, heavy piece of equipment. This is an Army prototype, portable TMS system for the field, which is designed to increase alertness of sleep-deprived soldiers. So in sum, neuroscience has rappelled down from the ivory tower and has eloped from the hospital ward. Business, entertainment, law and corrections, warfare, and education are all areas of human life that are beginning to be changed by this. The societal issues, I'll leave to you to think about, and we can chat later, perhaps. There are many, obviously, and I just want to say that we're on it.